man.
Well, in other words, he was saying he sent down his ambassador.
He sent ambassadors. That's what Paul used. He used the word. He said, let us make man. That's why Genesis 1:26 is so important. You will see, and I want him to have dominion over where I'm going to bring. I made me an earth, and I'm going to send man to earth to colonize for me and then spread. That's why, but we got out here, we got to worry about how much clothes. Child, I can't wear no cheap clothes. We got to worry about what kind of shoes we going to be putting on. And car, what kind of, you going to go to school? What you going to drive? I'm going to get me a Mercedes. No, I'm going to get me a hot rod. See, we down here to say, oh, we need some fresh water. I need a house. I need on the hill. I don't just want a house. I want it way up there where nobody can come visit me. We get out here and get caught up with people discussing all kinds of crazy stuff. And then our lives start to fall apart and we go, Jesus, what's wrong? What's wrong? And you go to church and they say, you ain't praying enough. They give you every answer. You ain't paid tithe. You ain't did this. That's why it's falling apart for you. But this man, my grandfather never paid an ounce of tithe and was the richest man in the neighborhood. They couldn't figure that out, Sister Leslie. Because all of us were paying tithes and we were broke. You couldn't rub two nickels together. My grandfather called me over. How am I broke poor Joe Turkey gonna tell him about the Lord? My grandfather looked at me one day and said, son, so you were walking over here to my house. He said, the Lord said, see that young man coming right there? He said, that's a good man. He said, but he got one problem. My grandfather got me sitting down in the chair. I can't run nowhere. He said, God said, you got one problem. I said, what's that, Graham? He said, you broke. God got that one right. I ain't had nothing. I was poor as Joe's turkey. They say he was Joe's turkey was so poor he couldn't stand up. That was me. He said, you broke. And he said, God said, he don't ever want you broke. Son, you're a young man. You shouldn't ever be. You know, if that man finished, when he talked to me for a year, asked him every time I would fly back to Louisiana, he would look at me. He said, it's working for you. I said, yes, sir. He said, this is what I want you to do. He took me through a process and told me he said, this is what I want you to do. And that old man set me down while everybody going to the football game. That's why I said, I ain't got no problem against the football game. Everybody going to the basketball. I ain't got a problem with none of that. But when you broke, that ain't where you need to be. I was broke. I need to get some money. Yeah. That old man was sitting down showing me what I needed to do. And then he would say stuff like me, now here's what I want you to do. Whenever you go preach, you buy a round trip ticket. I said, why? He said, make sure you can get back. Because the stuff you're going to be teaching and saying, people are not going to treat you right. They're going to give you no money. And I'm sitting there going, he said, no, they're not going to give you money. There's times, he said, the people are going to want to bless you. But the leader ain't going to let them bless you. But you buy a round trip ticket. I said, I think I appreciate that. And I would. And I would stand up. The first thing I'd say, I paid for my way to get here. And I paid for my way to get back. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay it all out. And boy, Pastor was getting nervous. I said, I'm going to lay it all out on the line tonight. And if you don't ever invite me back, I'm cool. I'm cool. But tonight, you're going to get the truth. You're going to get it all. Get all. Both barrels, I'm going to unload them tonight. And every time I would do it, one guy walked up and he said, man, you blessed me tonight. He said, I've been wondering why we couldn't get things done. He said, but you showed me tonight. And that young man's life changed. Right in Sacramento, changed, did a 180. I said, I appreciate that. He said, when you coming back? I doubt if I will get, because the pastor made a statement and let me know I ain't coming back.
Have you been back?
Nope. Never got an invitation to come back. But he was teaching me.
That one person.
But I found out something. Now, my wife and I may not be filthy rich, but he is making a way for it. And some things we did them on our own. We caused some of our own bleeding. Yes. Am I right, honey? We caused some of our own, and we're paying for it. And I keep saying, when is it going to stop?
When we stop.
You got a point. We can stop the bleeding.
Yeah, we
but
can stop it.
I was never broke again. And I understood.
So you stopped because you listened to your grandpa. Got your money, got your finances here.
Go ahead.
One more thing. I was reading where he said, I never forgot one meeting in Malaysia. Is that Malaysia?
Malaysia. What page you on?
58.
58. Let's go. Me go to 58. Right. All of us. Let's go there. Because that's what we're gonna do with this book. Ain't gonna be no one. You find something as you reading, bring us back to it. Let's go over it.
You got up to all the way here?
Read. What you saw on 58?
Go ahead.
It says, I will never forget one meeting in Malaysia where I spoke to a group of executives with the Sony company. During a meal, I was chatting with some of them. These were all high-powered individuals.
Oh, he asked about why black
One
folk.
of them, a one-time millionaire. When one told me the story of how he made his fortune, this individual, a Chinese gentleman who was in Malaysia as a consultant with Sony. After sharing his story with me, he asked, "Can you tell me why it is that people of your particular pigmentation, no matter what country they reside in, generally do not quite break through to true financial success? We Chinese usually make money wherever we go. He has not at all vain or arrogant with his question, but was simply inquiring about an observation he had made in his travel. So I guess this was Miles. He said, "I don't know." I replied, "Can you tell me?" So the Chinese guy told him, said he answered me saying, "During a trip to America, I noticed in every city I visit that when an Asian comes to town, even if he has nothing when he starts, he owns a business in just a few months. People of your pigmentation, on the other hand, even though most of them are very hardworking, have been there for a decade. Yet some of them do not own anything." Talking about us.
What page you on?
58.
I'm 58, but I'm not. I know. So I read this part of the story, and I know where you're going.
A fall shook the world.
A fall shook the world. That's the top. Dad. Okay. Good. Thank you.
54. Right we are.
It's 54 for me, but 58 for you because you got all those other. All right.
Because I had to look. I'm saying.
There you go. Go ahead. Yeah. I remember the story.
I remember the story. I said, I don't know.
I'm just. Okay.
I know in this
The
city.
fall shook the world,
They
right?
answered me saying during the trip to America,
It's on
I
55
noticed
for you.
he owns a business in just a few months. People of your pigmentation, on the other hand, even though most of them are very hardworking, have been there for a decade, yet most often do not own anything. After studying this for a while and talking to many of your people, I finally figured out that the difference lies not in our ability, but in our mentality. More often than not, when your people go into a city, they are looking for a job. That's us, looking for a job. It is different with Asians. We Chinese never look for a job. We go into a city, we are looking for a business. We may need to hold a job for a while, but that is only until we can buy or start a business of our own.
You see that?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you something. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's true.
That's so true. And it's the
That's
mentality.
mentality.
Now let me show you
Culture.
why. Let me show you why that's so different for us. In my hometown, my daddy said, "Go to school, get a job, start a business." How many of your parents told you that? So I came with and I married a woman with a different kind of mentality. See the struggles that we were having? It's called unequally yoked, and not that she was a sinner. I married someone with a different kind of mentality, and I should have been looking for someone with a business. When I met Kara and her mom, I didn't know they had owned apartments. Can you own an apartment without running a business? That's a business. See their mentality? So they were used to business. They were used to someone making money and having money. So let's go back and take a look at that. We go into the difference is not our abilities. Why? Because we all have the what? Same ability. It's not the ability that's holding you down. It's the mindset.
Yeah.
And the mindset produces fear. What if I don't make it? Okay, what if you do?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And it's hard to get people. I'm telling you, I was working with a guy that worked for a mechanic banks. And I came out, Brother Early, and I said to him, "Man, Brother Steve, I'm sorry.
You said it again. He said it again.
I said it again.
I had my own business.
I already know, so I don't even
What Brother Steve, what kind of business you had?
I had my own driveway.
Drywall. See the mindset? And when you own that business, you got to go where nobody else go, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
You got to do what nobody else will do.
That's right.
So when the mindset that I had was always had been, and I said to this banker, I said, you in here where all of these houses that are foreclosing, how come you got the people records and you know that the house is foreclosing and you know where it is? How come you won't buy some of them? And I mean, I'm talking to him face to face. I said, how come you won't buy some of them, renovate them, and some of them probably in decent shape? This is what he told me. He said, I'm afraid. And at the same time he was saying that, I was depositing a check for that much. I made 23, and I messed the deal up. I was supposed to make this.
Being nice.
I was being nice, and I always said I'm never gonna take advantage of people.
What kind of job you had?
I was doing real estate.
Real estate.
Really?
I came out here. I sat on my mother-in-law, or the end of my mother-in-law's sofa. I moved out here in 1995. I'm sitting on the end of her sofa, and I knew I was gonna get a job. This is what I told them when they hired me: give me 15 years, and I'll be up out of here. Is that somebody going to stay, or that somebody going to take a job so he can start his own business? So I can start my own business. What business was I going to start? I was going to start a real estate business. And I went to a seminar. And when that guy asked me, tell me what you do with your time when you get off work. You ought to do that. When you get off work, when you go home, from the time you go to bed to the time you walk in that door to the time you go to bed, what do you do with your time? When he asked that in that seminar, I said, oh my God, I know what I do. This got me. TV. I watched about 4 or 5 hours of TV. He said, that's why you ain't got no money. You're right.
Oh, you dropped your thing.
I said, you're right.
Money because I look at TV. I don't go in that store.
But that affected me. So I'm sitting there saying, I ain't got no money. He said, now here's what you need to do. You need to find out what to do with them 3 or 4 hours. Because you know you got to work. Because God give us all how many? $24. Everybody get $24.
24 hours.
You got 24 hours. So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do.
You sleep.
We went to a seminar. We went to Vegas. And when I finished, I remember one thing the guy said. He said, you could drop me off in any town, USA. And I'll be a millionaire again, he says, within a year. You could take all my money away from me, but just leave me my knowledge. And I'll go to any town, USA, give me a year, and I'll be a millionaire again. I said, man, that's impressive. I'm listening to you. I said, what you going to do? He said, I'm going to do what I done in the town that I was in before. He asked another question. He said, how many of you would be willing to pay me $1 million? What would it be worth, he says, for me to show you how to make $1 million? Nobody would answer, including me. He said, it ought to be worth $1 million, because if I showed you how to make the first $1 million, then you could go make what? The next $1 million on your own. I said, okay, you got me with that one. I'm sitting there, I'm listening.
It costs you to make $1 million?
He said, how much would you be willing to pay me to show you how to make $1 million? He said, it ought to be worth $1 million, because if I showed you how to make that first $1 million, then from there on, you got knowledge in your head. If you can't make nothing else, you ought to make $1 million. I learned how to make $23,000. I bet you I could do that again.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember exactly what I done. I remember exactly what I done. Here's a rule that I'll never forget.
Let's get to 70 next time, though.
It's called a 30%. Most people don't even know what that rule is. 30% rule is no matter what a house is, no matter what a house costs, if you as a real estate person going to buy it, never buy it over. Always buy it within that 30% range. If it can't fall within that 30% range, I don't care if it's your mama telling you about it. He said, get up and walk away. Let me show you the 30%. That means if a house costs $100,000 in this neighborhood, how much am I going to offer?
You should offer him about 70.
70, that's right. That's the 30%. Isn't that hard? Isn't that simple? That's all I learned out of that class. So in other words, if I was going to come in this house, all these houses around here, $300,000, I'm going to look for a house that is worth $300,000 when I what? When I fix it up.
Right.
But I know I can't give him $300,000 because I got to fall within that 30% rule. And that I went out and I looked for my first house with that mindset. Found it in, where was it? Vallejo, right down the street from the Marine World. I walked in there, and the lady, I'm sitting at the table, she says, the house, I said, all fixed up, how much the house was? She said, it's going to be worth 100. So how much we got to pay? We got to pay 90-something. I'm sitting at that table saying, that's not what they told me, but I did it anyway. When 1 month, within two months, the house started going up,
Mm-hmm.
and the value went up
Mm-hmm.
till it came to there.
Mm-hmm.
How much did I put in it? 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
Rehab it for 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
You had a profit of what?
Had a profit immediately.
30,000.
Now, where am I gonna get my clientele? You know, I didn't start all this till I had some clientele.
Right.
You never go fishing in a pond. Always remember this. Where there is no fish,
Mm-hmm.
you're not fishing. You wasting time.
Yeah.